almost 1,800 students.
Hmm.
We have about 200 staff. And then all of the other peripheral people, so like everyone's families that are connected to all the students. So probably in a given day, like I would interact with, I don't know, maybe 500 or 600 people a day.
Okay. Ms. Barron,
Hello.
thank you very much.
You're
It's
welcome.
nice to finally meet you
You
and
too.
talk to you.
This is exciting. I'm excited about this.
So, for those people who don't know,
Mm-hmm.
who do I have the honor of speaking to today?
Well, my name is Melissa Barron, and I am the principal here at Tigard High School. I think like content doesn't actually matter. I think like content doesn't actually matter. It doesn't really matter what you learn. It's just that you learn how to learn. And you learn how to take in information and process it and apply it to different situations.
And that's really big right there, what you just said. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter the content that you
Mhm.
learn, it matters that you learn how to learn.
Mhm.
What does that mean?
It means that we as educators have a responsibility to create humans that can go out and do things in the world. We should all accept and acknowledge that the content, like the stuff, is at your fingertips and has been the entirety of your life.
Mm-hmm.
That you can Google, you can AI, you can create whatever the piece of information is. But what we need to help you to be able to do is think about it, analyze it, apply it, evaluate it. That's how you learn. Like those are all aspects of learning. And so,
well, that's kind of really big to hear as well.
Yeah.
Because school is such this block in people's lives, and it just takes up so much energy, stress, time.
Yep.
And it's like it basically determines what you do for the rest of your life. And it doesn't matter the content.
I think there's some content that matters. You should know that what the Civil War was, right? Like just as a human, like you should know that there was this war that happened in the United States, because we hopefully don't repeat that act. Do you need to know all of the facts and all of the things in science? Like, what do you think?
Well, to be successful in life,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
To be successful in school, I don't know, because
Yeah.
school is just like a show to test a bunch of students based on their mind and how they think and how they problem solve, so that they can go to college and test how they problem solve up there, so that they can get ranked to go into a job that needs more or less problem solving.
I wouldn't, no, not necessarily. I just think that school exists to help you develop skills that you don't yet have. And so we use chemistry as a mechanism to help you learn how to problem solve. We use AGS3 as a mechanism to help you learn the skill of problem solving.
Yeah.
We also use chemistry if you want to become a chemist. And so we're kind of trying to balance these things of, I don't know what you want to do next, but I have this responsibility to create open doors for everything that is next. Communication. I need you to be able to communicate. I know that no matter where you go and what you do after high school, you're going to have to communicate in some way, shape, or form. Like, unless you're going to go like live in the mountains. There's
not really like a class or anything to teach how to communicate.
Not like directly.
That could be like a very big skill that maybe needs to be amplified.
Right. But not directly, right? Like I'm not directly teaching you how to communicate in a class called communication, but hopefully you're sitting in chemistry and you're having a collaborative opportunity in class.
A lot of kids don't do that.
I know, and that's part of our challenge. That's what we have to keep working on.
How do you navigate that?
I think adults, we have to keep talking about it. Like we have to keep having these types of conversations of like, I'm having you do this group work because I need you to also work on being able to communicate with people that you don't know very well.
What do you do when you're not doing school?
Well, I, outside of school, am a wife and a mother. So I have 2 young kids that are 9 and 7. My son's birthday's tomorrow.
Really?
So I spend a lot of time parenting, and my husband's a teacher also and a basketball coach. And so I spend a lot of time watching high school sports. I have a really strong group of friends that I've had for a really long time. And so we spend a lot of time together. I just like to have a good time. I really enjoy being outside. I love to garden. I watch a lot of sports, for better or for worse. Sometimes I love it, but sometimes I get a little tired of it, but I do watch a lot of sports. I just like to enjoy life.
Okay. Kind of building off like the friends area that you said.
Yeah.
What's the importance of a good group of friends behind you?
Oh my goodness. It's so important. I think human connection and relationship is the most important thing in life. And so I have the privilege of having this really strong group of friends that help me navigate things. They're there when I have questions about parenting. A lot of my friends and like my core group of friends are also educators. And so that's helpful too, to be able to be like, what happened at your school today? Or what happened? What have you experienced?
They're like all around the area?
They're all around the area at different schools in the area. And so that is really nice to be able to share that experience. But I think if you don't have good human connection, I don't know how you could really function because it's hard to do things alone. It's hard to be alone. And I just think as humans, like we were made for connection. Like we thrive.
Sure.
We thrive on that. I mean, kind of like what you and I were just talking about, the importance of hearing people's stories and being able to connect with people, I think is really what it's all about.
Being able to like hear people out.
Yep.
And understand where they come from as well.
Exactly.
How did your path lead you to where you are today?
I've had one of those very winding paths. I was raised by a single parent in not the best circumstances. So my mom was an alcoholic, and so was raised in that kind of trauma for the entirety of my upbringing.
Wow.
And I knew from other people probably, but I knew that I didn't want to end up like her. Like that was kind of always my life goal, is like, I don't want to live that life. And so I recognized really early on that education was going to be the way that I could change my trajectory.
Like an escape.
Yes. And so I am the first person in my family to go to college. I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college. And I knew really early on, I had a teacher in 3rd grade. Her name was Mrs. Coley. And she told me randomly, like, Melissa, I think you'd be a really good teacher. And I was like, done. I will become a teacher. Like somebody has given me a direction and I will now become a teacher. And I never wavered from that. And so all through high school, like I knew, like, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to be a teacher. And so I went to Western Oregon University, which I loved and was fantastic. And I got my teaching degree, and I actually started teaching when I was just barely 22. And so it was exactly what I hoped it to be. I love teaching. I knew that I was supposed to be a teacher. Like it was never a question. And so I taught English, high school English, for a long time.
English, okay.
Yes. So I was an English teacher for a long time. I taught at Beaverton High School, was the primary place where I taught. And while I was at Beaverton, a mentor of mine was like, you have some leadership abilities. Like I was an activities director at the time, so I was doing like student leadership and planning assemblies and doing all of those things. And a mentor of mine was like, Melissa, you should consider maybe going into educational leadership. And I was like, no way, I love teaching. Like I want to be in the classroom. I don't want to be an administrator. That doesn't sound fun. But she's like, we had this opportunity where we partnered with Nike. And Nike has a really strong leadership development program, and they will kind of mentor you through Nike. And then you can also teach, but like there's all these benefits from this program.
So it's like a Nike program that benefits. I'm trying to understand how it works.
So Nike partnered with the school district. So Nike went to the school district and we were like, we want to give back to our community. Like that was kind of Nike's pitch, was we want to give back to the community because the world headquarters is in Beaverton.
Yeah.
And so they want to give back to the community, and what can we do? And the school district was like, well, let's build leaders. Like we need a strong organization. So they developed this partnership, and then the school district picked people. There were, I think, maybe 10 of us from the district that then partnered with Nike executives to learn about leadership and do all of these things.
So it was like Nike executive leaders that were teaching administration?
Like teachers. Yep.
and teachers how to
be good leaders
in a school environment.
Okay. And so it was like this really cool partnership where I spent half my time at the Nike World Campus and I worked at Nike, but I was teaching. I'd been teaching for about 10 years. So I must have been like right around 30, 31, 32. Part of the whole practicum thing was that they paid for me to go back to college and get my administrative licensure, which is just like another year of school. And so I had my administrative license, so I was able to be a principal if I wanted to, or an assistant principal. But I was like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to go back to the classroom. And then I had a friend of mine that was very dear to me who was working in Northeast Portland at Tigard High School and was unexpectedly promoted to be the principal. And he's like, I need someone to come be an assistant principal
at
with
Park
me
Rose.
At Park Rose.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I don't know anything about Park Rose, but I went out there and I immediately just fell in love with the community, with this experience, like the feel of the place. And so I started as an assistant principal there. And it was life-changing. Like, I loved everything about it. It was super fun. I really enjoy the system side of education and trying to figure out like how can you create spaces for an entire school for kids to have access to things that maybe they wouldn't otherwise have access to. So for the last 10 years, I've been an administrator. So I served as an associate principal at Park Rose. I went back to Beaverton High School as an AP, again, assistant principal. And then I was the principal at Sherwood High School during the pandemic. And then I came here to Tigard. So that's how I got here.
Why did you choose Tigard?
I was a principal at Sherwood High School during the pandemic, during the time in society when lots of things were happening around being a Black person. And I was the target of a really public, I don't even know how to phrase it, like attack, I think is probably the best word. And so I had to leave Sherwood because it wasn't safe, and it wasn't safe for my family.
You personally were being attacked.
Yeah. And so not like physically, but like somebody posted something online and then it went viral, and then people...
In the Sherwood community?
Yes.
Or
but
like
then it went national. Like it went viral.
Oh, wow.
And so as a result of that, like I needed to go to a different place. Like I needed to not be in Sherwood.
It was that serious?
Yes, it was really serious and really dangerous and super scary and very traumatic for
I can't even
my
imagine.
family and for me and all those things. I've learned a lot. Like, and that could probably be a whole other. And so I came back here as an assistant principal. And when Mr. Bailey got a promotion to the district office, then I applied for the principal position because I really enjoy being a principal. It's really fun. And so here I am.
And I think a lot of people don't know what principals do.
Yeah.
I think that's a big misconception. People might not even have a single idea what they do. Can you tell me about some of the things you've done as principal? I do a lot of work around connecting with the adults, connecting with teachers to be like, okay, this is what we know to be good teaching. So how do we make sure that that's happening in classrooms? Or I'm responsible for the fiscal side of the school as well. So everything to do with the budget and the facilities. And so I make like last week when it was the windstorm. Remember that when it was, that was this week, wasn't it? It was like this week. This has been a long week. When the windstorm happened, we had some damage that occurred out on the field because it was super windy and some of our field, like some stuff got damaged. So like I'm the first person that they call to say, hey, this thing is damaged. What are we going to do? And so I do everything from like that, managing and making sure that those types of things are taken care of, to, you know, if we have a tragedy in our community and I need to navigate with the family. So, you know, we had a student pass away earlier this year. And so I was the person who connected with the family, made sure that they had the resources that they needed, and then managed and helped support the community. It really is this position that every day is different. I don't know what's going to happen when I walk in the door. Stay on your toes.
I mean, yesterday, right, we had a fire alarm go off because somebody was cooking a grilled cheese sandwich in the classroom. And so I have to be in charge of that as well. I always try to make sure that I do every day is I try to make sure that I'm connecting with students. Like I want to connect with kids. I want to hear what's going on. I want to talk about their experience. I'm actually teaching a class this year, which is super fun. So I teach advanced leadership. And so like I'm in charge of all the assemblies and I work with the leadership students to get all of that stuff done.
What leadership
Yeah.
qualities do you think you had to acquire or learn
Yeah.
in order to put yourself in a position to run a school like this?
Yeah. Had you asked me this question 10 years ago when I first started versus now, like I would have a different answer. But now I think the things that I'm most thankful to have skill around is adaptability, recognizing the power of the connection piece, and really understanding that investing in the time to build a relationship with a student, with a family, with a community member, with a staff member is the most important thing. When you work with a lot of people, people have different lived experiences, they have different opinions, they have different whatever goals, and it's not my job to change those things. Like that, it's not my job to change those things. It's just my job to understand where it's coming from and then to be able to connect it to what we hope to do as a school. It's not, it just,
because I mean, you make a call to please one person, and you upset the next person.
Exactly. And so recognizing that not everybody is ever going to agree with everything that you do as a leader, but that if you're grounded in the why, like if you really understand why I'm making a decision or why I'm whatever I'm doing, that it then you can move forward with confidence and say, this is why I'm doing this thing. I know you don't like it, or you're not, you disagree or whatever. But as a leader, like that is just part of.
So you internally have to believe that what you're doing is right.
Yep.
And they'll either see it or they won't.
Yep.
What do you do if they don't see it?
Just keep going. Just keep going.
Okay, what advice do you have for someone wanting to get into school administration?
I mentor a lot of people that are going into administration, so teachers who are considering like wanting to be an administrator instead of a teacher. And the advice that I always give them is that you have to really know why you want to do this work, and that
even though, did you know why exactly?
I didn't from the start, but that's why, like in hindsight, I wish someone would have told me that so that I could have been really clear, because the first little bit of it is hard. It's hard to navigate like what to do and how to do it and all of those things. And so in hindsight, I wish someone would have given me the advice to know and be really clear about why you want this position or this role.
Melissa Barron,
Thank you
so much for your time.
You're so welcome. I really
do appreciate that.
My pleasure.
It means a lot.
Of course. Thanks for coming in. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.